So I just thought I'd do a market update and tell you where I think the market is headed, where we are in the market cycle, and give an update on a few altcoins. So overall, I think you have to look at this and say, um, to me, it looks inevitable that we're probably going to break to higher highs than we were last week, but new all-time highs in the 70 to 80k range, probably in the next few weeks and coming months, because momentum is pretty hard to break. And when you typically look in past cycles, whenever we've gone past any sort of significant peak and high, we do tend to run quite hard. If we actually have a look at what's happening on the weekly scale, obviously we pushed up higher and closed still above 60k. And at the minute we're pushing higher straight off the bat this week. And I would expect probably this high to be challenged fairly soon. So if you also look at the amount of daily closes and the amount of actual time that we're spending above the 60k region, it does tell you that also some of the bulls and the strength of this move, wants to be challenged higher. Because if you look back here, we've got one daily close sort of above 60, and then we basically went straight back down to 50, and over here at 64, and then basically couldn't hold it at all, went straight back down to 47, and then consequently the big crash in May. This does look to me like it does have legs. People were saying double top, but I think the market has recovered and had enough time to correct and reaccumulate. And I think it is more likely to go up than down from here. So I would be looking at higher prices, and that's sort of how I'm looking at it really. At the minute we seem to be working this channel. This is a slightly larger trend line from 14k, and these three peaks back in April. So yeah, if we really get going, it would be, I do think it's likely that we could come somewhere up towards this trend line. But I think when the FOMO really starts to kick in, people do forget how quickly and how fast BTC can run. And I remember back in 2017 when everyone was in Bitcoin, and the FOMO was actually to get into Bitcoin, not the altcoins. And I think people have forgotten about that because everyone sort of looks at ADA, Ethereum, DOT as, to give you like massively outsized returns. But you have to remember where you are in the cycle. And I do think what I did was back in June, I converted most of my alts into BTC, because I was thinking that the next run would be with Bitcoin, and it would be better to hold Bitcoin either if we went down or went up, because either way, if we had gone down, then the volatility would be less, and you'd protect yourself there to the downside. But also, if we went to the upside, I did think that it was time for BTC to have its next run. If you look at the dominance on the BTC chart, we are looking at breaking the 49.50 level, and I think usually, once we break that, I do think we can make a run for about 60. I'm not sure if we'll get up towards 73 on the dominance. And then I would be maybe looking to potentially shift BTC profits, should that happen, into altcoins if we get there. But I'm definitely looking at this to potentially break and move to the upside. And I would imagine somewhere in this rally, it's definitely potential for FOMO to kick in with BTC, and for BTC to have a big move. So yes, that's what I'll be looking at. And obviously the crypto market cap is pretty much, I guess you could call it a triple top, but it does look like it wants to break higher. So yeah, just something to look out for. The bias and the momentum is up. Don't be a bear in a bull market. So you have to accept that things looking like they want to push higher. A few notes on some of the altcoins that I'm seeing that I see potential in. I actually think Link looks like definitely one of the better ones to get into. If you look at the way that I'd be looking at this, is generally speaking, if you just zoom out for a moment, you're looking at, like Link generally trends up with time. It's actually a fairly consistent coin, and it hasn't actually had a run, and it's been actually lagging behind some of the other major leaders in the space. But if you look at the way that this has been, moving recently, broke this from the upside from $13, moved up, correction sideways, and then we're just breaking out of this pattern here, and you can see this inverted head and shoulders, which actually played out pretty nicely. I bought in around here, around the, I think it was 29.20, and I'd be looking for this to move further to the upside and break 36 sometime soon. This pattern to me looks like really nice. It looks super clear, so I think definitely that's a trade worth taking if that's something that you wanted to play. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. Breakout, retest, resumption, looks really nice. XRP's interesting as well, because obviously what we're doing here is we are, zoom out back out onto the daily, we were in this essentially this large accumulation zone, as the way that I see it, for about 2 years, between essentially 10 cents and 50 cents, and then we've moved out, and then we're looking to sort of move higher again. XRP hasn't really pumped a great deal, especially since the SEC, so it is actually lagging behind on the market cycle as a whole compared to the rest of the coins. But I'll be looking for this to move higher. And if you look at the BTC value, we're still actually, I would say, in some sort of accumulation range at the bottom. If you look at XRP BTC, and this looks quite nice, because when XRP gets moving, it moves so quick it almost doesn't give you a chance to get in. So if we were to make it out of this zone and even just up to this sort of trend line, that's an extra 600%. And if you wanted to be extra risky and try to get up to the prior highs of BTC value in the last run of 17 and 18, you're looking at about 1,000% move. So just something to keep an eye out for if you are looking to transition at some point from BTC to altcoins, the ones that might give you the best risk to reward return. And same thing for, like I said, Link. Link looks pretty good on the USD chart, but it's been correcting pretty long here and hard since literally nearly a year and a half ago. So I would expect Link to make a move sometime soon. And they're the two that I'd probably be looking at the moment. Ethereum just looks like it's breaking to new highs and it wants to push higher. I wouldn't see this as a double top or a triple top or anything like that. I'd be looking at this as just strength to move potentially higher. And if you look at this trend line down here, always zoom out and look at the macro picture. You can see we're uptrending. So, potentially a $10,000 to $15,000 ETH coming maybe in Q1 of 2022. So that's basically what I'd be looking at. They're the top sort of coins that I'd be looking at making a move, and just keeping my eye on them. DOT also looks quite nice to move higher and push and break to new highs, because once we broke down from around $26 and then we came over here again, if you zoom out you can sort of see the macro picture. We reclaimed this area on the higher time frame of like $37, $35, came back, retest 25, resumption up. So that actually looks really nice. So yeah, this sort of corrective pattern here is we're just breaking out of this. So that looks pretty nice. So yeah, I'd expect DOT to probably move and trend higher into the $50 plus range fairly soon. So that also looks pretty nice. And generally what you want to be doing is not get married as well to so many coins that people are obsessed with and that you get married to. A lot of people, for example, like ADA, has literally been doing nothing. So you do lose some perspective and maybe opportunity cost if you just focus on one thing. And then you get frustrated usually when it doesn't do anything. So you switch that coin to something else after another coin has already made a pump, and then you miss out. So if you're in like ADA or something, you can just chill and hold. But at the minute, ADA is essentially just in some sort of like range-bound accumulation correction phase. The momentum looks to be stronger with stuff like, I would say, maybe like Link and DOT and even Ether. And yeah, maybe when ADA reaches something like 2.5 to 3,000, 2.5 to 2,000 sats, I would be looking at that as a potential area to bounce up from, maybe somewhere in this region, should 3,000 sats not provide support and we don't get a bounce up here. So that would be the next level for me to look down to and potentially look to flip BTC to ADA, and then maybe make for a final run higher than the 6,000 sat mark that we got back in August. But yeah, I'd be looking at, the way that I'm looking at this cycle as a whole is, at the moment, I'd be looking at BTC to make its next run in Q4, which BTC typically is pretty strong in Q4, and then see where that really takes the market, and then there will likely be another run after a sustained correction, probably something similar to what we saw in 2017. I would be looking at that. So 2017, we got this major run up over here, and essentially we got this big correction. But I remember pretty strongly from this rally, as BTC was going down, a lot of the alts were just going absolutely bananas. So that's definitely something to look out for, is once BTC has made its run and everyone's talking about BTC and everyone's almost sort of forgotten about the altcoins and they FOMO into that, it's probably the time when you want to look to be switching, because you want to be looking at the BTC charts versus the altcoins, not just the USD charts, to potentially make a switch. And I'm looking at maybe towards the end of this year, the start of next year, for maybe some altcoins to really get going and get moving. I'm sure there will be a few coins that will run with BTC if we start to move towards those 70, 80k highs, but I would keep personally a majority position in BTC, as I think that's what's going to run next. So let's see where the next few months, end of this year, takes us. The only thing that would change my mind to get slightly get a little bit more bearish would be 50k. We're still sort of good, we're chilling, we can still bounce in and around this range and correct under the highs to move up. Anything below 40k would start to ring alarm bells, but I don't see this as the primary scenario. It does not look like the most likely outcome, and you have to remember that crypto rarely double tops from major highs. It usually blasts past them, and then what you do is you get the retail and FOMO investors. You need the next wave of people to kind of come in at around the 100k mark when everyone else was talking about it, and then get them in, and then you typically want to sort of sell into strength. That was coming here. This is where a lot of new people kind of came into the market, where everyone was basically talking about it and everything was going pretty much bananas. That's when you'd be looking to sell at the next in the next wave, which I would anticipate would be somewhere between 100 to 200k, but I don't know exactly. That's typically that's something that I would maybe be looking at as a price target for at the next push higher if we get that. So let's see where we are, and maybe we'll do another update in a week or so and see where we're at.